Well, hello. So, a few months ago, my blog turned 20 years old, and I put out this book, a very short book with 20 lessons from 20 years of blogging. You can find the book on Linkpub. I'll link it in the description. But what I want to do is I want to start a series going through my blog from the very first post, and I'm gonna spend like 20 to 30 minutes pondering over each one of the entries, seeing what kind of memories it sparks, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing. Unscripted, just something that's I wanna have up and running. It will help me remember things, and maybe there's something that might help you. So going back all the way in August 2005, I'm gonna go from the bottom up. The very first, let me make this big, the very first blog post. Hey, I'm just getting started on this blog. I'll try to keep keep two blogs. One where I'll post things related to software development or technology in general, and another one where I'll post things about anything else. My other blog can be found at, yeah, that's no longer the case. When Live Spaces, the service from Microsoft, where I had both blogs at the time, when it went out of commission, I simply did not continue with the other blog. I don't even think at some point I had some of those blog posts stored away. I would like to find them at some point because I remember at least two of them that I really wanted to revisit, but I don't know if I still have it. I'll look it up, but I don't think I still have it. Then the first post with some sort of see, that was on the 12th, with some sort of content. I mean, check this out. What's up with zero-based arrays? Seriously, what is up? I never liked having like the first element in the list be element 0. It's always been weird for me. But anyways, this speaks to the, like, I've talked to a lot of people that they don't start blogs because they don't know what they would be talking about. They don't know if they know enough about the topic that they're going to be pointing out. I mean, look at the two, like on the first day. These were my first blog posts. 20 years later, I still do not like zero-based arrays. I think that they make no sense. I know some folks will say no, they make sense because the memory pointers and this and that, whatever the case might be. Sorry, that does not relate with me and still does not make sense up here. But the point being that whatever opinion or thoughts I had, even if I didn't have a solution for it, I would put it out, right? So that's what got me started. So what happened after that? Some C# things. The using block. Okay. There's something about the using block that's been around for a while that I never quite got it. By the way, the quality of English, hopefully it will get better. We'll see progress as the years go by. But yeah, there will be some like, okay, disposable. Okay, so I don't even want to go into all the details there, but I was pondering over the dispose or the using statement in C#. I'm sorry, not the using statement, the using block. Sign up for free issues of Code Magazine, Code Focus Magazine. That's where I used to work at the time. So whenever there was something like that going on, I would put up a blog post for that. That was it. First month. That's all I got. Let's go over to notice that I skipped. This is an important thing, right? So people have seen and even like praised me for like how consistent I've been over the years. When you go like, oh, from 2005, look at that, all the way to 2025, very consistent. But when I first started, notice 3 posts in August, I skipped September, I did something in October, we'll see. And then from October to March, I didn't post anything, right? So the whole idea, like, oh, should I post weekly, daily, monthly? I got started, I skipped many months, and then you see March, April, and then August, and then another jump there. So the important thing is get started. Eventually, it may catch on. You may go back to it. All right, let's see. Well, looks like October was very thin. Microsoft MVP award for 2005 2006. That's good news. So, yeah, that was my 4th year in a row receiving the Microsoft MVP award. Very proud about that. Very cool. Yeah, and that was my thing. Just making sure that the work, the contributions I was uh, giving to the developers community was still relevant. That was cool. It's been a while. Oh, can you please put some comment on that regular expression? So kind of like the same way I feel about zero-based arrays. That's how I feel about regular expression. I know that they're so very powerful, right? The things that you can do with it, but it's always been very hard for me to get my mind around them. So whenever I needed something in regular expression at the time, right, that was 20 years ago, I would just ask my smarter friends who would know how to put those together. Hey, I have this string here. I know I need some sort of regular expression. Can you help me with that? They would, and then I would figure out like ways to put some sort of comment describing what each part of that meant. I remember later I saw like some libraries in C# where you could, like a fluent interface library for the creation of regular expressions, where you would actually read English first and it would create the nasty things there in regular expression. That was fun. Nowadays, of course, I just love seeing, uh, prompting AI tools, and as it goes out and it comes up with regular expressions on the fly as it needs to like parse through whatever documents we give it. Kind of fun. That was it in October, right? So, what, 5 posts so far, and then big jump to March of the following year. Oh, let's scroll down here. Speaking at the Houston, first time I see there's a typo there. Houston.net user group. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I know it's been a while since my last post. Got busy. What can I say? And then I'm just announcing a talk that I'm gonna be giving. It's always fun to present at this user group. 2006, I just gave a talk to the .NET user group 2 or 3 months ago, I think. Happy to know the group is still around. Thanks for improving to my point in the right way, for improving to hosting the .NET user group, picking that back up and keeping it going. That time I was giving an intro to Link. Remember when Link first came out and we were all trying to learn what it meant and everything? I remember enjoying the feature enhancement there, the new feature, and started giving talks on that. Migration. So I guess I meant migrating FXCOP custom rules to work with .NET 2. So FXCOP, many folks may not have experienced that. Static analysis rules, I guess folks like in the front end thinks of like linters, right? Going through your code and seeing if there are problems, things that, even though your code may compile, it may not be following best practices and things like that. So when static analysis tools like this came up in .NET, I think the first one was FXCOP. And writing .NET version 1, I remember writing, yeah, look at that. I've had a bunch of libraries of custom rules we've been using in FXCOP against .NET 1. And then when .NET 2 came out, as per this post, there were things we had to change in FXCOP, which was a tool from Microsoft that allowed us to write those rules. It came with a whole bunch of standard rules following the standard .NET conventions for writing code, best practices and everything. And we could write our own rules to apply to our code. And I remember it was not fun at all. Right nowadays, you can ask some large language model to verify your code for best practices and things like that and give suggestions, and it doesn't matter whether the code is C#, Java, TypeScript, uh, JavaScript, and what have you. It will figure it out. It knows, right? It was trained on that. Well, these, no, you had to write the rules, not for C#, not for VB, but for intermediate language, IL. When you compile your C#, your VB.NET, it goes down to this intermediate language. We would write the rules against that. Not fun. Or actually not, I may not be saying that right. It was not exactly against that. It used this introspective approach. It was like I just said an intermediate thing. I can't quite remember. I don't think it was the actual IL. It was not the starting code. It was something in between. Oh, right there. The introspection. Yeah, that's what it used. Yeah, that was tough. Test-driven.net, a great little tool. So that was a very small extension for Visual Studio. All it gave us was the ability to, when testing frameworks for .NET started to appear, in Unit, MB Unit, Microsoft Test were the ones at the time. That was way before XUnit. This little tool here allowed us to like right click a test method or a test class and hit run, something that we now have by default in our IDEs. That was an extension to get that. I love that. And it had the option to like run test with debugger, right? Putting a little breakpoint, run the test with debugger. We didn't have that natively. But the other thing that this thing did, like by accident, I found if you had any kind of method that maybe it didn't receive any parameter, like it just did something, you could right click there and it would run that. So if you wanted to say write to console from there, just to try it out real quick and see if it was doing what it was meant to do, it would do that. So yeah, long were the days. We don't need that anymore. Good. So March, let's move on to April. Okay, C#3 and Link. Oh, that was me giving a talk at the How PC in Houston. How PC was a special interest group or a place where they had different special interest groups, SEGs, and there was one there that I gave a talk on C#3 and Link. Now, I remember when I put up that talk, a lot of people were talking about Link, language integrated query, and how to, write your queries against your in-memory objects before even figuring out how to write it way before entity framework, right? So we had link to, what is it? Link to dataset, link to data. I don't even remember I think it was linked to data. So a lot of people were talking about those. I went a slightly different route to just try to understand the foundational features in C Sharp that allowed link to exist as a feature. So that meant extension methods, type inference, anonymous types, lambda expressions. So I remember I tried to learn each one of those things individually, how I could use that outside of link. And then that gave me two things. One was learning to use link a little bit better, I guess, but also learning to use those features in my own language, like using lambda expressions um, in my own code, using type inference and extension methods in my own code, and leveraging that over generics, right? Because generics, if I remember correctly, was introduced in C Sharp 2. So then learning to use extension methods in generics, which is really the base for link as well, right? Extension methods on IEnumerable of T. So learning to use that for my own C Sharp code was, I remember, was very useful. And I remember people really enjoyed that talk because they were not seeing a lot of that at the time. ASP.NET 2. Wow. What did I mean by that? For about 3 years, we've seen lots of presentations where there was a lot of hype. Oh, missing an E there. Regarding new things coming ASP.NET 2. Master pages, membership, two-way data binding. Wow. We've heard a lot about developers being able to write 70% less code and with all the new things. However, there wasn't much hype about how terribly slow it is to build a web project. Gee, it's cool that we can write 70% less code, but it's definitely not cool having to wait almost 5 minutes for a 6-page project to build. Even if you right click on a single page and choose build page, that takes long and painful minutes. Yeah, I remember that. Again, speaks to the point of, like, you don't need to only post about the things that the solutions you have, how you figure stuff out. Post about challenges, difficulties that you're running through. Like this was very real. That's what I was going through at the time. What are the comments? I have no idea. Okay, 5 minutes for 6. You see what that is? You recognize that name or that email? That is Scott Guthrie. I don't even know, like, he is still like a big deal at Microsoft, executive vice president of the cloud and AI in Microsoft. At the time, he was the .NET guy, the guy behind the .NET framework, right? And I mean, right, he took the time to actually respond to that and tell me to email him directly, which I don't recall, but I think, let's see, what did he say? If you can send me an email along with details of a project, I can help you fix it. Can you imagine that? That's pretty cool, right? It's still here. I remember he had seen one of my posts at some point. I didn't remember it was this one where I'm like kind of like complaining. But that was cool. All right. So that was what? Where's the month? Oh, up here. April. Let's move on. Let's see how we're doing on time. Okay. April. Let's see if we can make our way through the end of 2006. August. Ooh, August 1. Ah, that's nice. Web application project. Ah, much better. A few months ago, I posted my rants about the website project. Yeah, so there was a website project, and then later the web application project in VS 2005. I just want to add a new post here to say that it's been 2 or 3 months since we migrated our websites to the web application project option. Yep, Scott Guthrie. Scott Goo, as he was known, probably still is. and it solved all the problems we were having and didn't introduce any new one, which is always good. So I definitely recommend it. Huh? That was cool to see that. All right. Um, we were in August. Let's see, October. Another jump, right? Ooh, I know that one that came up. Uh, oh, that was the following year. MVP for 2006, 2007. Fifth year in a row. Cool. So on that one, I reflected on a few things, like the very first MVP award. I was, as I said, full throttle on helping the Visual FoxPro community when I was still in Brazil. That's when I received my first one. There was a lack of content for that language and whole solution. It was not just language, right? The IDE and everything. There was a lack for content in Portuguese, so I was barely starting. Also working with the Fox Pro, I learned just enough so I could help out others, and that's where it all started. Then the second one, I was already living in the U.S. and it was cool, like receiving it from the Fox Pro team at Microsoft, or the nomination came straight from the Fox Pro team at Microsoft, which is kind of cool. I was proud of that, I remember. And then eventually I transitioned over from Fox Pro to C Sharp, because that's what I was doing mostly at the time, helping FoxPro developers learn about .NET, the ones that at the time were already looking into, learning the new language, the new framework, and starting to work in the platform as well. So that is cool. Wait, what was that? Getting more and more special, be awarded along so many bright minds. Well, no guru likes MVPs out there. Yeah, so that was cool. Had been a while. And then this one here. Ooh, long one. When the geniuses talk or write, I fall asleep. I'm not gonna go, this is a long one. Okay, long story short, around 8 years ago, I was pretty active, and since there was a huge lack of material, I ended up writing some articles and doing some presentations. Okay, so my point here was that as I started helping out the community there, just barely learning some things and passing that along, I got a lot of great feedback from people saying, hey, I've been trying to learn some of these things for a long time. Nobody can quite explain it to me. And I remember when I was learning object-oriented programming, I had people from colleges reaching out to me to say, man, I watched that one talk you gave on object-oriented programming. You helped me understanding. I had a 3-hour version of an OO class, and they said, I've watched your content, like in 3 hours you helped me understand something that my college professor has not been able to in 6 months. And that to me was it was I don't know, it was what's the word that I'm looking for? It's a moment that I'm proud of, because I didn't go to college. I learned these things like street smart, had to learn a lot of it on my own, and then reaching out, looking out for content on the web at the time, and books and everything. And then I just realized, yeah, right there, I'm speaking to the OO classes and things. Right? It's like, yep, oops, now I got it. So this is a post where I'm mostly speaking to that. Like, there are too many people that they learn things and they become the experts, or so-called or self-proclaimed experts come out, give a talk using big words nobody understands. They sound very smart, right? The people giving the talk, they sound very smart, but people are not really learning anything. And that, to me, it I check out when I see that, if I'm in a presentation, a talk of some sort. And I really try not to do that, because it does not appeal to me, and that's not the way I like showing up when I'm giving a talk and trying to, help somebody else understand something that took me a while. Yeah, look, I mentioned the same thing. That 3-hour video is much better at explaining this than a full semester at school. This reminds me, I think it's what caused this thing here, because I heard similar comments in Brazil, and I also heard similar comments in the US, which to me was very interesting piece of feedback on the same topic. It was exactly the same topic I taught in Brazil. I heard it in the US as well. And it's like, well, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, geez, that was 19, just over 19 years ago. Okay, October. Where do we go from there? November. Or no, there's no November. There's December. All right, good timing. One post, some new shows. My band got 2 upcoming gigs booked. Okay. So, yeah, when I was in a local band here, I would also, if I had a gig coming up, I would drop it here. The band's website, I think it's still up. Yeah, we haven't been keeping it at all. You can still find some music here, but there's really nothing going on. You should find me. Look at that, the heavy metal look. uh, I don't think there's a whole lot more there. Yeah, that's me. That's me doing the thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look at that. That's kind of funny. The metal look. Gotta look mean. Yeah, right there. Rehearsal. That's me. Very cool. That's me. That's Floriansen at the time with After Forever. Cool. Yep. That's me sporting my Nevermore t-shirt in studio recording. Yeah, right there. Been a while. All right. So let's wrap that up for today. Next one, I may be doing this tomorrow. I mean, I'll go through the whole thing. Does not necessarily have to be a daily thing or a weekly thing or whatever. It's whenever I set the time and say, okay, right now, this is what I'm going to be doing. So catch you next time.